Thank you for joining us on our journey here to preserve the history of mixed martial arts. When I wanted to take on this project, I needed help. I brought in one of my favorite matchmakers, Miguel Iturrate, and the MMA detective, Mike Davis. So to do this, we've been able to preserve history. Welcome and enjoy.
Hey, we're back here on the Lights Out podcast. I'm Miguel Iturrate. That's the MMA detective, Mike Davis. And we've got Chris Lytle, the big boss, waiting in the wings. We got another deep dive for you. We are on a run of heavyweights, Mike. We had Mark Coleman last week, best podcast in terms of performance ever for us, doing really good. You know, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Mike, third heavyweight in a row, Mitrione and Coleman. Who we got?
Okay, so we got Pedro Rizzo, and we are going to make a case. Everybody unanimously tends to agree that Gray Maynard is the greatest UFC athlete never to have the belt wrapped around his waist. In this interview, we're going to make the argument that it might be Pedro Rizzo. Like, with all due respect to Gray, obviously, but Pedro Rizzo, there needs to be a voice in a conversation that kind of represents what he accomplished. On top of that, our growth is going through the roof. Like, we seriously appreciate everybody helping out. Like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a review on iTunes. Say anything you want. Just put 5 stars. On top of that, guys, kind of exciting for us, we got our first affiliate, betdsi.eu. If you guys are like maybe not connecting all the dots in life, let's just say you're not like the best human being possible, and you have like maybe a gambling addiction, use our promo code Lights Out for betdsi.eu. It would be doing the right thing by supporting us. Never mind your family and your bills. Please help this show by using our promo code Lights Out. betdsi.eu.
You can tell how much we want it. We're now using sarcasm in our intro. So
no, at all. So we got Pedro Rizzo coming up. Miguel, I'm excited about this one. One, he's from Brazil. We've only had Joel de Oliveira and Carlo Prater from that area, so we're kind of revisiting there. I think Sweden and Canada are on our to-do list in regards to interviews. So please stay in tune. Thank you for your support. And man, we love seeing our channel grow. Thank you.
And here's Pedro Rizzo.
Okay, thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Deep dive time. Very excited about this one. Coming from one of the guys who was around before me. I know it's hard to believe, but when I first started fighting, when I was watching, this is one of the guys who was always putting on good fights, a UFC staple, a mainstay, one of the great heavyweight fighters of all time, Pedro Rizzo. Pedro, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to be here. So it's nice. You can talk a little bit about my career and about everything.
Well, for that, I'm going to have, I got, you know, Miguel, I'm sure. We got the MMA detective, Mike Davis, up here. He's going to kind of run the show and kind of deep dive in all these questions. So, Mike, Miguel, go ahead.
Well, I say we start, Miguel, here. You're going to want to ask about, you know, his relationship, I'm assuming, with King of the Streets, Marco Ruas. Why don't we start from the beginning? How did you meet Marcos? How does that relationship start?
When I saw him fighting against Fernando Pinduca in 1984, and that time I was a capoeira fighter. You know, I came from capoeira, and there was a friend training for me, and he said, "Hey, because capoeira is a kind of art that is a dance and also the fighting. The slaves in the beginning of the Brazil, they used to train in capoeira. They put a dance inside the fight to hide for everybody that they were training, because they were slaves that time. So when capoeira always was a fight. So when I was talking with a friend of mine, I always liked the capoeira fight part. I don't like much the dance. I don't like much all the movements. I like the fight. Every time I step in the we call roda, where we are training capoeira, I always go for try to hit my opponent like a fighter. And that time, sometimes people doesn't like you much because, hey, come on, man, capoeira is an art, it's a dance. I said, no, capoeira is a fight. So I wasn't the guy who people used to invite me to be in the roda, because everybody knew that when I'm there, some fight would come. So, and Marco Ruas also started in capoeira. So was funny because I was talking to a friend of mine. He was a capoeira guy, and he said to me, "Hey, you like the fight part of capoeira? You should look for Marco Ruas. This guy was a capoeira fighter, and now he's a Vale Tudo fighter. He used to fight against Gracies. He used to fight against jiu-jitsu." And I said, okay, I will try to find him out. So then I started looking for Marcos. And since I got there the first time, I was 14 years old, 15 years old. And but I was already big. I was more than 200 pounds already with 15
Wow.
years old. And it was my normal weight. And that time, Marco was funny because when I got there, Marco used to teach in a very beautiful gym, but for rich people. And that time I had no money to pay the gym. And when I met Marco, I met him and said, "Hey, I want to train with you." And Marco said to me, "Okay, just go to the front, to the secretary, and pay to be taught. Sorry." And then I said, "Yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't have any money to pay the training." And then Marco said to me, "How old are you?" I said, I'm 15. And Marco said, "Okay, every day you wait for me in the corner of the gym, and I pick you up and you get in the gym with me. So I'm gonna tell you that you're my guest." I said, "Okay." But it was funny because, and Marco said, "And your parents can't pay for you?" I said, "No, I'm a student. I don't work yet, so I can't pay." And Marco was he was crazy because I was there. I was a kid with 15 years old, and he said to me, "Okay, wait for me." He should say, "Hey, let's call to our parents and tell them that you're gonna train me." I was a kid, but Marco is crazier than me. He said, "Okay, wait for me. I will put you in, and we're gonna train." I said, "All right." So every day I was there at the same time. It was around 4 p.m. I was waiting for him in the corner, and in front of the phone booth. That time, a phone booth. That time. Now everybody uses cell phone, so we don't have a phone booth anymore. So, and he put me in every day, and we start training for him, and he started teaching me everything. And it was funny because he came to me. I was 15 years old, and Marco was already Marco Ruas at that time. It was in 1989. He fought against Fernando Pinduca from Rickson Gracie in 1984. So since 1984, everybody knew Marco Ruas. He was a badass guy, you know. Everybody didn't want to fight with him. So, and he looked at me. I was big, but I was a kid, and then started calling me to spar. "Let's do a boxing sparring." I said, "Okay, let's do it." And then he killed me. He punched me everywhere. He punched me hard every day. And then that day, when I finished the training, I looked at him and he said, "That's it. See you tomorrow." I said, "Okay." And then I think I spoke with him later after that. He said, "Oh, come on, tell me the truth. You thought that I never would come back." And he said, "Yeah, I thought you never would come back. But the day after I was there.
I think he was also hoping you didn't go to the police as well.
Man, he hit me everywhere. And that time there was no rounds. So he said, "Put the gloves."
Oh,
and I said, "Okay."
That's hell.
Yeah, I said, "How many rounds?" He said, "What? Come on, man. We keep doing like a half an hour. We did half an hour sparring, 30 minutes I was the punching bag, you know. He hit me everywhere.
Well, you paid.
Do you think was he just testing you out to see how much heart you had, and if you'd come back? You think just putting you through real tough the first day?
I don't know. Maybe he knew I came from capoeira. He knew that I knew a little bit, because that time I thought I knew a lot about fighting game. But that day, I just discovered that I didn't know anything about fight game.
Now that was all stand up. You didn't do any groundwork then, huh?
Not that day. Not that day. but because he used to teach in this gym, and it was Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And Tuesday and Thursday, he used to teach in another gym. There was a match because this gym doesn't have any match.
Okay.
So and Tuesday and Thursday, he used to train 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. And it was funny because he said it's going to be a kickboxing training. Said, okay, I took my gloves and that time there wasn't any shin guards. Nobody used the shin guard that time. So everybody, we didn't know shin guard. Shin guard just first time I saw the shin guard was 1994 here in Brazil when Tom Hagen came from Chapecó to teach us here. So from 1994, I never had even put one shin guard in my leg, never. And was funny because on Tuesday and Thursday, the training would supposed to be kickboxing, but it was 2 hours class. And he used to teach 1 hour and 15 minutes kickboxing. And then everybody put off the gloves, take off a shirt. We go to the ground. I said, come on, this is kickboxing. I said, come on, man. Are you a fighter? He said, yes, I am a fighter. So if you're a fighter, you have to know to fight everywhere. We're talking about for 1990. UFC started in 1993. So he came to me, I said, what? Yeah, man. Can you imagine a doctor, he's in a line, like in a bank line, and somebody gets have a heart attack in front of him. He's gonna say, oh, let him die because I'm an orthopedic doctor. Come on, are you a doctor or not a doctor? Said to me, if you're a fighter, you're not a kickboxer fighter. You're not a jiu-jitsu fighter. You're a fighter.
Man, Marco Ruas had he was grimy. He was one of those guys where you saw him and you were like, man, you don't want to mess with him. But there was just something that radiated off of him. For the people at home I can't imagine anyone listening to this that might not know who Marco Ruas was, but you said he fought all of the Gracies. I don't think a lot of the Gracies wanted to fight him. He was one of those guys.
Yeah. Because Marco was pretty smart. Since that time, he used to start training on the ground. He said, I have to know what these guys are good. They are good on the ground. Let's train on the ground. Because Marco Ruas was alone against everybody. In Brazil, everybody used to train jiu-jitsu. Everybody. Just Marco was against everybody. So he was the opponent that everybody wanted to fight. But everybody knew that it would be very tough to beat him because he was complete. The fight starts stand-up. Fight doesn't start on the ground. So you have to take him down. And you guys are American, so you guys have already the wrestling culture. We don't have this culture here before. Now everybody train wrestling. But that time, or you stand-up, or you used to train stand-up or on the ground. But the middle, to take people down, to avoid the takedown, we always say that we used to do a baiana. Baiana is a shooting. It's like a shooting. We call no techniques. So people try to shoot him with a wrong way. So it was easy to defend the takedown. So nobody wanted to fight with Marco because it would be hard to take him down. It would be hard to beat him stand up. So everybody was really scared to fight against him. Not scared, but they respect him. They respect him a lot, And at that time, it's like I was saying just a little before, I said when I got in the training, it was 2 hours training. He used to teach 1 hour, 15 minutes of kickboxing, and the last 45 minutes, he said to all the students, the class was around 20 students there. So everybody to the ground. But nobody knew anything on the ground. He said, we have to start how to fight on the ground.
He took a kickboxing class and just said, no, we're doing MMA today.
That's it. That's it.
Well, go ahead.
No. Sometimes because Marco, that time, not too many people want to train with him. So he used to train with his students. So in the beginning of the month, there was 40 guys there. the last day of the month there was 1 or 2 guys because everybody go away because everybody.
Yeah. So now we interviewed Joel de Oliveira also a few months ago, and he comes from Luta Livre and the Vale Tudo stuff with Hugo Duarte and that branch. What's Marco's relationship to that branch of Luta Livre?
Marco, who was training a lot Luta Livre.
Yeah, sure.
I'm 60-degree black belt in Luta Livre too. Like Marco is a master of Luta Livre. Marco used to train that time with Joel Oliveira's father was Vernon. He used to train with him, and Roberto Leitão Senior, who just passed away like 3 months ago.
Oh man.
That guys started to teach him how to fight on the ground. So Marco used to train with them on the ground. And we have a very good relationship with all them. So Marco used to train in his sparring training at Budokan. That was where Joel Oliveira started training there. So we have a very good relationship with all them.
I have a question. What now with like you and Marco? Was it like traditional jiu-jitsu training, or was he training for fights, like more no gi stuff or more with strikes? Was he doing more of that or more just straight jiu-jitsu?
No, we used to train more strikes. We are all like stand-up fighters. We are stand-up fighters. My dream always was to fight in the K1.
Okay.
Because I came from capoeira, stand-up fight. So I went to the kickboxing. So I always loved the kickboxing style much more than the ground.
Yeah.
But I went to live in Holland. I lived 2 years in Holland.
Oh.
I became European champion kickboxing in Holland, you know. I fought with the best out there. I trained in Chakuriki I lived in Chakuriki gym for 2 years.
Wow.
That's where you picked up English, correct?
Yeah, where I started to learn English was in Chakuriki. But in Holland was when I started. Then I moved. So when I was in Holland, Marco Ruas was teaching at Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu in LA. And then he met that time John Perretti. John Perretti was the matchmaker of the UFC.
Yeah.
And then he said, we're going to have a UFC in Brazil. It was 1998. And I was living in Holland. And Marco called me and said, hey, Pedro, come to LA because the matchmaker of UFC, he said they're gonna have a UFC in Brazil. But that time, I was already fought 2 8-man tournament of Vale Tudo, no gloves, no time, and no.
Ooh. So let's start from the beginning. Let's get from the beginning.
Go ahead. I'm gonna sneak in a question later about Hugo Duarte, the famous Hugo Duarte Rickson Gracie fight on the beach. Where were you and Marco that day? Describe that day to us, and then we'll hand it off to Mike.
Yeah, well, Marco was in his house. Marco he got married at 23 years old, so he got married very 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 young. So Marco always was alone. He always walked alone. He never walked with many people. He used to train and go back home. Marco doesn't walk with because normally people from Luta Livre, they used to training on Saturday morning and everybody after the training go to the beach. And Marco wasn't there because Marco was in his house because he has his wife and his daughter already. Marco has 3 daughters, but at that time he was 1 daughter. So he went home. And just the day after, he knew that the jiu-jitsu guy was there. And they called Hugo Duarte to fight. They had a fight on the beach, and it was like just the day after. Marco knew everything, so that's why Marco wasn't there. Marco was always alone. He always walked alone. He used to train everywhere. Marco used to train also jiu-jitsu. He put the gi because he wants to learn. He wants to learn the art because jiu-jitsu is a great martial art. So he wants to learn as much as he can to become a complete fighter. You know. That's what he wants.
Were you surprised that Rickson and Marco never fought?
Yeah, sure. I'm surprised, but you know they have like 2 or 3 times very close to fight. Like Marco was training in the gym where I met him, and Rickson Gracie was there and said, "Hey, Marco. Rickson will move to United States, So before he leaves, you guys should fight because you're the best from kickboxing, and Rickson's the best in jiu-jitsu. You guys should fight. And then Marco said, okay, I fight for him. And Pedro Gracie that time said, okay, we're going to have like a month of training, and then we make an appointment and we fight in the gym. And Marco said, no, I want to fight in the stadium. I want everybody to watch the fight. I want to fight. I want to fight with Rickson in front of everybody. I don't want to fight in the gym. I want to fight, I'm a professional fighter. Just to pay me, I fight with Rickson anywhere. I'm ready to fight with him. And that time, Ego doesn't want that time. They try to find some investor to pay for the fight. There wasn't anybody to want to fight. And like 1 week before Rickson leaves to United States, he went to Hugo Duarte gym, everybody gym, and he challenged everybody there to fight. And they called Marco. Marco went to there and said, okay, I'm here to fight. And then Rickson said to everybody, Marco, it's not the fight's not going to be with you. You already proved it to everybody that you're a fighter. I want to fight with Hugo, with the new song. I want to fight with these guys from Luta Livre. You don't need to prove anymore. You're a fighter. We all respect you. You respect us. So we want to fight with the guys from Luta Livre. That's what happened. Was the last time they talked about the fight between Marco and Rickson, but never happened. Never happened.
That sounds like no. I only want to fight people who aren't real fighters. That's an interesting take. Okay.
Yeah.
You look at his track record, there's a little truth to that. So October 26, 1996. You notice that transition, Chris? You see that transition right
Very
there?
smooth. Very smooth.
Yeah, very smooth, right? Almost unnoticeable. October 26, 1996. You fought in Holland, the International Mixed Fighting Association, against Eric Labaille.
Labaille.
Was that a rings? I couldn't understand because they stood you guys up really quick.
The Dutch way.
That time I was in Brazil. I want to move to Holland, but I already went to Holland like 2-3 times before that fight to train at Chelsea. and Tom Hagen, the trainer, he said, we're gonna make a show, Czechoslovakia against everybody, against all the styles. And they said, we're gonna have a Vale Tudo match, and he wants you, Pedro, to fight against a judo guy. He's also a kickboxer and judo. I said, all right, was my debut. And then I talked with Marco, and Marco said, okay, you're ready to fight, man. You're ready to fight on the ground, stand up, you fight the high level kickboxing already. Take the fight, let's fight. I said, okay. But that time was October 26th, and Marco would fight on November 10th against Tarov. So it was 2 weeks before. So then I went with Luis Alves, my other training, to Holland to fight there. Then I fought with Frederico Labaille. They said it would be a Vale Tudo match, but when we got there, they said it's going to be a rings match. So we're going to put small gloves, and if you take to the ground, you can hit him on the ground, but you can't kick him on the ground. Said, all right, so stand-up kickboxing on the ground. I can take him down, I can fight on the ground. Great. So the fight was like 2 minutes. I took him down, mounted him, and started hitting, and then he stayed on the ground to the side and had free stop the fight. It was my first fight. I was ready to fight because I helped Marco to fight in his training to fight against Taktarov. And that time was 1 round 30 minutes. 1 round 30 minutes. No round. It was like 30 minutes round. So I was helping him. I was ready to fight too. So I went to Holland. I fought. I took my flight back to Brazil on 27. I got here 28 October. So then I got in Rio, and then we went to São Paulo because the fight was in São Paulo. We got there like 2 weeks before the fight. And the week before the fight week, one of the guys, I think was an American guy, he didn't show up because he had a problem with the visa. He couldn't show up there. So, and Marco said, hey, Pedro can get in the 8-man tournament. I said, what? He said, yeah, you just fought. You ain't shit. You just beat somebody in Holland. He's ready to go. I said, if my teacher said that, I can't say no.
No.
I said,
So
yeah.
Go here. Let's kind of set the table a little bit. So that's November 10th, 1996. I think it's Sergio Battarelli's event. It's World Vale Tudo Championships too. And it's an 8-man tournament where, I mean, obviously you're fighting 3 guys and you meet Nicholas Hill in the first round.
Yeah.
So you get an American right off the bat. Was that, I mean, with your international experience with kickboxing, you just fought, you know, a guy in Holland. Normally, I think that might set somebody off a little bit, but based on your history, I don't think that would intimidate you.
You know, that time was the beginning of everything. So Marco looked at me and said, hey, did you have any injury from the fight? I said, no, I'm fine. So if you're in shape to fight in Holland, you're in shape to fight here. It's a big opportunity for you. I said, Marco, I fought that in Holland, it was supposed to be like 1 round, 20 minutes. I said, Marco, I'm going to get in the tournament, 8-man tournament, 3 fights, 30 minutes. 3 fights, 30 minutes. I said,
it's a little different.
He said, so what? You're ready to go, man. I said, okay, I'm ready to go. You know, if my master said I'm ready to go, I have to be ready to go. You know, I can't say no. You know.
Yes. So with the rules here, you could headbutt, you could do everything. Vale Tudo?
Everything. Kicks on the ground. My first fight, I beat Nico with headbutts. Second round, I beat the Dutch guy with
Michael Thielroy.
Yeah, Michael Thielroy. I beat him in the American bar. And the last fight I fought with Vernon White.
Vernon Tiger White.
Wow, Vernon White.
Yeah. I kicked him on the head on the ground. It was like a soccer kick. And I knocked him out. Because we fought like 5 minutes, stand up. And then when we get close, I hold him in the
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai clinch. And I went for knee to the head. When I give the knee to the head, he fell. He fell on the ground, on the back, on his back. He tried to the guard. I passed the guard. When I passed the guard, the floor was a little slippery because we were sweating. And then when I see him, his head was between my legs. I said, come on, man. We have a ball. We're going to kick.
Yeah.
That's it. So I kick his head. Was allowed. Was a Vale Tudo, you know. I kick his head. And then I knock him out. But the fun part, because Sergio Battarelli was a referee.
Yeah,
when I kicked him to the head, he fell. He was a knockout. And then Sergio Battarelli didn't stop the fight. I look at Vernon, and Vernon was there, like his eyes was open. And I look at him and said, Sergio, he's out.
Yeah.
I said, oh yeah, sorry.
So
I almost given him the second kick, you know, but he was out already.
Chris, Pedro is like, and it's going to be a reoccurring theme. It's going to be a reoccurring theme in this podcast. Pedro's a really nice guy, like a really nice guy. And on the tournament, like, this is when you knew how nice of a guy he was. Like, he literally said, I could soccer kick this guy's head, you know, all the way across the room. The fans will like it, but it's not the right thing to do. Would you mind just stepping in here? And like, a lot of people wouldn't have done that. Like, you did the right thing.
Keep kicking.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is you see the power of kicks, but this is early on, and he's one of the first heavyweights. And heavyweight power is heavyweight power. If a heavyweight throws a kick, I mean, just the idea of a second kick for Pedro Rizzo is just bad news. Bad news.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you, was that Lapenda that was the promoter of that event?
Yeah.
How was your treatment with Lapenda? He's got a reputation. Some people love him, some people hate him. Well, what do you remember?
Man, that time, Lapenda is a really strange guy. You know, he could have everything with Marco, but like when Marco became a UFC champion at UFC 7, he won the tournament, and he's supposed to fight against I don't know, it was Coleman or Severn. I don't
Frye.
Don't Frye. Yeah, that's it. Don't Frye. He's supposed to fight with Don't Frye because and that time Lapenda said no. UFC doesn't pay well. Let's go to Japan. I'm gonna take you there to fight. I'm gonna make more money. And that time, man, the sport was just the beginning. We didn't know anything. So and Marco trusting Lapenda, but for me it was a bad step for Marco. Marco used to, for me, he should stay in UFC that time. He should fight. Don't Frye. Would be a great fight for both. Would be a great fight. But
Don Frye fought Andrei Bittet, and Bittet was the next big thing coming out of Brazil. Like at this time, I mean, Marco, when you would come to the United States, Americans were pretending to have Brazilian accents. Like they would take 2 weeks of jiu-jitsu, and all of a sudden, like the way they spoke changed because they just had difficulties. Bittet, it was a huge upset that Don Frye beat him. He was supposed to be the next person from Brazil that just showed the American audience just how tough jiu-jitsu was.
Yeah, he was the black belt of Rickson Gracie. And they said that time he was the best of them. For me, the best of Rickson Gracie's student is Murilo Bustamante. That guy, he's the real deal.
Yeah.
But Amory that time, first he was small for heavyweight. Amory he used to weight like a 185.
Yeah.
He can't fight with heavyweights, man. And it's short, He's a great guy. He was a really complete. He had a good kickboxing. He was the best on the ground, but there was a big mistake of the Rickson Gracie put him against Don Frye. Don Frye is a good wrestler, and he knows how to box. It's hard to take him down, And everybody in Brazil, we didn't have the best wrestling at all, People know how to take people down, but we use more power than technique. And in America, everybody's a good wrestler, man. You can't take anybody down like Amory tried to do with Don Frye. But was a big lesson for us too, for Brazilians too. So we have to prepare prepare well to fight against American wrestlers, So it was very good for us too. If you think about, we learned something. We learned that you have to improve our wrestling to fight against good wrestlers.
So wrestlers were learning jiu-jitsu defense, and Brazilians were learning takedowns, like aggressive offensive takedowns. So in your tournament, a guy, Richard Hurd, who was 4-0, beat your second round opponent, but couldn't continue because he got injured. They didn't want to leave any questions of who that tournament winner was. So they had you fight Richard Hurd on January 19th, 1997 for the Ruas Vale Tudo Championships 3.
And
you
let me preface
for almost 15 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say Richard Hurd, for
He's
the
legit.
time, was a badass. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He was one very, very well advanced. He had won a tournament or done well in a tournament before and stuff. And he was one of the best Americans that was out there at the time, 96 circa that time. So with that said,
A forgotten footnote. He's like a forgotten name in MMA, but
I stuck him in. I'm friends with him on Facebook. I'm getting close, Mike. I'm getting close.
So why don't you walk us through that fight? Obviously, it's significant for us.
I know Richard was tougher than the fight, but I think Richard. But I thought that time my toughest fight would be against Vernon White. Okay. But when I beat Vernon White, because Vernon came from Lions Den.
He had Ken Shamrock in his corner. That's intimidating.
Yeah. It was Ken Shamrock and Frank. Was both that time. There was both together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were together. So I said, these guys are complete fighter. I was supposed to fight with somebody who's exchange punch with me and kicks, and if you would go to the ground, the fight would be hard too, you know. But was a Vale Tudo. I didn't go to the ground. I kick his head, you know. So that was the difference, you know. But against Richard Hurd, I knew it would be a tough fight because Richard Hurd put the fight. When he stepped in that time, he used to step in the ring. He always come hard. So, but I had my kickbox experience. I trained with the best guys. I trained with Peter Arts, Bram Sikatski, and I knew that his stand-up would be okay for me, you know. I was ready to fight with anybody that time stand up. I said, hey, man, doesn't matter. Everything he brings to me in the ring, stand up, I'm ready. I trained with the best guys in Holland. So the thing that I was thinking, I didn't want it to fall from the back because my guard was okay, wasn't so good that time. And Richard Hurd was very aggressive from the top. So, and it was a lot of headbutts too. You know, sometimes guard with headbutts is totally different than you used to just punch and elbows. When you can use your head, change the game totally. And I prepared very well for that fight. I trained a lot of jiu-jitsu at that time, a lot of guards because I was worried about to fall. If he take me down from the bottom, I had to know how to fight in the bottom. So, but I knew at that time I was training already wrestling with the best Brazilian wrestlers. The guy already had to go to the Olympic Games. So I was training wrestling a lot that time. I knew it would be tough for Richard to take me to the ground too. So I keep the fight stand up. My wrestling was good. He couldn't take to the ground. I keep the fight stand up. And that time, the fight, the clinch, we got in the clinch. The clinch was different than now. The clinch is allowed headbutts. So the game totally. And I worked all the camp working on palm and headbutts. Palm, headbutt, change the level, take people down. So when Richard took me to the corner, I said, okay, no problem. I started using my headbutt. I use a headbutt, knees to the legs, knees to the body, headbutt. I wanted he put his head down to give me a knee to the face. But then he fall in the guard and said, okay, I was in a half guard. Half guard is the perfect part, is a very good part, good place to be, to use elbows and headbutts. So I took in the ground. I knew I had time to finish the fight. When I was in the half guard, I said, okay, I'm in the good place. Now I'm gonna take my time till I can mount on him or he gives me something. So then I started using the headbutts, punching, elbows, headbutt. I didn't try to submit him because I knew he knew how to fight on the ground. So I said, okay, I'm gonna hurt him. I want to hurt him to show if he gives me something, or he give me the back. On the back was good for me too, or I could mount on him. If I mount on him, I could punch him harder with the elbows, and that's it. So the fight I trained very well. The fight was the way I thought it would be. I used a headbutt, punch, stand up. It was better for me when he fell to the ground from the top and a half guard. Then I mount on him, and then he give up.
Pedro, now, you know, I started fighting in 1998, and you were allowed to headbutt, knee to the head on the side, on the ground. I fought when they changed the rules, as did you did, and now with no headbutts. I always find it like you're talking about. When you're headbutting, when you're elbowing, it opens up more. You can't just sit there and you can do more. I think it's a pure form of fighting. I enjoy it better than how they've changed it with the rules. How do you feel the same, or do you feel like you like it better now with more rules? What do you think?
I prefer the old times, man.
Me too. Okay, me too.
It's a real fighter.
Yeah, you're real fighting. It opens things up. You can't just sit here like this because you get kneed. You have to. There would be a lot of times I'd be kneeing somebody and they roll over and then I get the choke because they give you their back then because they can't sit there. Now you can just sit there on your side. So it's different.
Yeah. The old time was the real fight.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that the chains had to be made.
Agreed.
Because we have to sell the show.
Exactly.
Nobody wants, they put like a gloves. That gloves, the MMA gloves used to protect more your hand than your opponent.
Yeah.
But the good part, gonna save you from the cuts because it's not the bone against bone. So less cuts and okay, headbutt was too violence.
Yeah.
Kicks on the ground, too violence. For the public, it's not that good, but for fighters, like, come on, man, we are real fighters. We support. For me, it would be better kick somebody on the ground, use the head, be much better. No, for
Well,
me.
that's why I do now. After I came out of retirement to do 3 bare knuckle boxing matches, and now I do commentary for them. But I like the bare knuckle boxing. It's just
It's nice.
it's a real fighter. Just what you say, the real fighters. Only the real fighters want to do that stuff. Only the real fighters. It's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. If they call me, I go there. I go there and fight one fight, man. I'm 48, but I'm still ready to go. I can't do it.
Hey, I'll talk to my people. Maybe we can make that happen.
Let's do it.
Hey,
I'll talk to
man.
him. I'll talk to him. I'll get him.
That excites me too. But let me ask you a quick question. You mentioned that at this point, obviously, you had added some wrestling, preparing for a guy like Richard Hurd. I knew you used to be cornered by Beto Lytle Jr. Is that where the wrestling comes from there? Because I think he was from the wrestling pedigree. Why don't you talk about adding that and the relationship with Lytle Sr. and Jr.?
Senior, that guy was the guy that knows ground more than everybody. I never saw that guy. He's an engineer. He's professional. He's an engineer, but he used the engineer on the ground like. If you put your elbow this way, it's gonna have more power. And he's unbelievable on the ground. He's senior, and his son, he went to the wrestling, freestyle wrestling. That guy who started to teach me on the ground, teach me wrestling, Greco and freestyle. He went to the Olympic Games in 1988. 88, yeah, 1988. He went to the Olympic Games. So he already he trained in Canada. He trained in Bulgaria. So he knew wrestling more than everybody here in Brazil. So
he's legit.
Yeah, it was very good for me to train with him. Marco Ruas took me to train with him. He said, if you want to learn wrestling, you're a striker. So you have to know how to avoid the takedown, how to sprawl, how to avoid the takedown. So Beto Lytle Jr. taught me everything.
Okay, so you take 22 months off.
Ooh.
I mean, I don't know why. Maybe it's for training, but your coming out party is UFC Brazil, October 16th, 1998, where they put him in against Tank Abbott as his UFC debut.
16 months, I was in Holland. I became a kickboxing champion there.
There's no record. Yeah, I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Okay, but before we go to Tank, I Dirty Bob Schreiber. Did you ever work out with Dirty Bob?
Bob Schreiber, yeah, I trained with him, but I trained kickboxing with him because I went to Mediro gym to train. Bob Schreiber, he came from Mediro.
Okay, so around that time, the Dutch Mafia were all making their moves, and they're all opening up kickboxing gyms and MMA gyms. Glory, we know what happened to the owner there. Did you see any of that type of activity as a foreigner there?
No. I used to stay. I lived in the gym that time, and I didn't speak any English at all. So I just trained it.
To play devil's advocate, a couple of them did get shot outside of the gym. I mean, just a couple of them, not all of them, but a few.
Yeah. I used to train it.
Yeah, we're trying to get Dirty Bob on. I've got all the names and incidences of when things took place. I can't wait to just kind of drop them in between fights. Yeah, so Tank Abbott, UFC Brazil. When did you get the call?
I was in Holland. I won the both. I won the tournament and the super fight against Richard Hurd, and I told to Marco, I had a dream to fight in the K1. And Marco said, okay, the best kickboxing in the world, heavyweights kickboxing in the world, there in Holland. And in 1994, Tom Haring, the owner of Chapurique, he came to Rio for the New Year's Eve.
Smart move.
Yeah. And then I met him, and he invited me to go to Holland to train there anytime I wanted. So when I beat Richard Hurd, I said to Marco, hey, I gotta go to the Holland because I want to become a kickboxer. So then I moved to Holland and I started training on stand-up. So I had 15 fights there. I won all 15, 14 by knockout in Holland.
Wow.
And then I was living there in Holland. And Marco, in 1906, he moved to LA, to United States. And he called me, he said, hey, I'm in LA right now. If you want to come back from Holland, if you don't want to go to Rio because I'm not there anymore, you can come to my house in LA. So, and then when he told me that it would happen at UFC in Brazil, John Perretz at that time said, okay, Pedro is in Holland training. He's a kickboxer, professional kickboxer. Let's put him to fight against Tank. It's going to be a stand-up war. And then Marco called me, and it was funny because I was in Holland. I won the tournament, the 8-man tournament in Holland, and I earned at that time $4,000. And then
that's big money.
Back then.
For that time was the best money I could have. Then Marco called me and said, hey, Pedro, they want you to fight against Tank Abbott in Brazil in October. And Marco told me this was in February. And they want you to fight against a Tank, and they're going to pay you $10,000. Five if you win more five. 5 to show up, 5 to win. I said, okay, it's more money than I get, than I won. Yeah. And it's going to be against Tank. Tank was a big star that time.
Yeah.
He said to me, I said, okay, I think it's going to be the best move I can do. I went to LA to live with Marco. And then I started training there for fight Tank. I knew it would be a tough fight because Tank was a brawler, and he hits hard. I knew he couldn't touch me because if he touched me, he would knock me out. And I said, okay, exchange blows with Tank is not so smart to do. Him down, it's going to be hard because he knows little wrestling, like a school level. Like he knew how to fight. All Americans know a little bit about wrestling. And then I said, okay, let's kick him. I saw when he fought with Morris Smith, and Morris Smith kicked him a lot. So I said, I'm going to kick him. I think his weak point. And then because when I start kicking him, he's going to open his hand so I can punch him. So the fight was, I work a lot from the bottom on the ground. I put like 10 guys in the training with boxing gloves, hit me on the ground. I have to make a guard. And that time, nobody used to do a wall walk, stand up. We used to stay on the ground.
Yeah.
To do guard and try to submit, like with arm locks. And Tank was hard to submit him because he was short and strong. And they said, okay, well, it's going to work with the rules if he's not be too much acting on the top. And if I hit him from the bottom, Big John will stop the fight and put the fight stand up. That time was like a 12 minutes round. Sorry, 12 minutes round. And
3-minute overtime.
Yeah, 3 minutes. That time was like that. And then was the only fight, if you guys watch, was the only fight in UFC I moved. I don't know how to fight moving, man. I used to say, I walk backward. I don't know how to fight. But that time, Marco put me to move every time, move. Because Tank was hard to stay and exchange blows with him.
So to set this up, Tank kept bull rushing. Yeah. And yes, and Pedro would just swing his hips out and counter, and sometimes you would throw lower leg kicks and to open up, to have him drop his hand and try to catch your feet, and you would punish him from up top.
Yeah,
beautiful.
That was the game plan. Make him tired, kick his legs, and if the spot open the face, we punch his face. That was we work on. The game plan was that, and they worked well. But I didn't expect that Tank would take me to the ground. he took me to the ground, but that time I work a lot from the bottom. So it was really calm on the guard. I was worried about him because he's very heavy. Tank that fight, his weight was 147.
It was 268.
268.
You were 220. You were 228. He was 268. There was a 40-pound difference between the two of you.
Yeah. So I said, okay. I put the guard. I keep my feet on his hips, and then let the fight stand up. I hit him using elbows on his head, and then wait for a big jump. Put the fight stand up again.
Okay, so there's two things about this fight. I apologize, Miguel. Let me just slip this in, and it'll be your form. So there's two things about this fight that are really interesting. The first, you walk into the fight with stitches underneath your left eye. How does this happen?
Man,
what had happened was, go ahead.
We were amateurs, man. We was very amateur. On Monday, the fight would be on Friday. On Monday, I was training for the bottom. Everybody with the big gloves. In the fight week, we used to go for the fight because I was in Brazil. So we went to São Paulo on Wednesday. So we trained very hard on Monday in the fight week. We trained very hard on Tuesday in the fight week. And just on Wednesday, when we went to São Paulo, we took a little rest. But on Monday, I was with Ebenezer Braga. Ebenezer fought against Jeremy Horn.
Oh, he's
Braga's
savage.
good. He fought when I was in Japan. Very good.
Yeah. He fought with Jeremy Horn that night. So Ebenezer was on top with a big gloves hitting me on the ground. I was working just my guard. But the floor was a plastic mat. So he's slippery. And he fell with his head on my face. Ooh. So I got that. I got a big cut.
It was big. It was noticeable. I'm surprised they let it go.
Yeah, I went to the doctor, and the doctor gave me 7 stitches. And then I said to him, "Doctor, I have to fight on Friday." He looked at me and said, "What?"
with who? Your wife? Who?
No, the doctor. And then I said, I have a very important fight, maybe the most important fight of my career. On Friday, I will make a UFC debut. And the guy said, Pedro, if you start bleeding, the fight will stop. I said, yeah. I said, okay. If it was you, I wouldn't fight because you're gonna bleed. And I said to him, man, but all right, okay, it's not an option. I'm gonna fight anyway. So should I take off the stitches? Should I keep the stitches? And then the doctor said, better you keep the stitches.
Okay. I don't know, some glue.
Yeah, that's it. No, but that time in Brazil, we never saw how the name, the super glue for the skin.
Yeah.
Cola loca. Yeah.
We didn't have that here.
Oh, okay.
So we put the stitch, and when I get in São Paulo on Saturday, I put a lot of Vaseline on when I get in São Paulo on Wednesday. I put a lot of Vaseline in the cut. I was thinking that everybody wasn't seeing the cut.
Mike saw it.
Yeah, what you should have done was maybe I thought I was going to a baseball game and just threw like that little eyeliner.
Yeah, the black.
Yeah.
Paint your face or something.
And the big Joe McCarthy, first thing when he looked at my face, said, "What happened?"
Nothing.
Getting this ready for after the fight.
I said, I'm sorry, I got cut. He said, are you going to fight? I said, I will. And he said,
that's it.
Okay.
Hey, man, there wasn't any attack commission that time, man. We could
I love it. The good old days, the Wild
Yeah.
West.
So the second part of that fight, that Miguel, you're next. I apologize. So the the second part of that was, it was the first time that I saw that Marco Ruas was not in your corner.
Yeah.
You had Bas Rutten, which
Yeah,
Marco and Bas have got a crazy close relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, because Marco, he fought against Otsuka in Pride 2 weeks before. He was very sad for the loss, and he just show up because he would be in Brazil. Everybody would start asking him, what happened? What happened? He said he lost the fight. He said, Pedro, I'm sorry, but I can't go with you, man. I know my mind's not that good. I want to be home with my family. I said, okay, man. I said, okay, we make all the training camp together. Said, I'm ready to go. You know, you did everything that you could do for me. In the cage, it's going to be myself. Nobody can help me there. So I have to do by myself now. Now it's my part. You already helped me all my life. You guys teach me how to fight. Now it's my time. So nobody can help me there.
Savage.
I can't call a friend to help me there. I have to do by myself, you know.
Yeah.
What I was sad, but I was so focused on that fight, man. That fight would change my life, you know. Was my UFC debut. Everybody was watching me, you know, everything Marco and I had together, like we fight against everybody in Brazil, against the jiu-jitsu. Everybody's saying that like kickboxing is nothing. Marco Ruas he's against jiu-jitsu. So that time, that day was my time to show everybody that I was a real fighter, you know, that I was ready to fight against anyone. Tank he just had beat Hugo Duarte that time. He knocked out Hugo Duarte.
In 2 minutes.
Yeah. Hugo Duarte was the guy, he used to be a hero for the Luta Livre here. And then I had the chance to fight against a guy who beat Hugo Duarte. So that fight means a lot for me. So the only thing that I got worried about was to start bleeding in the fight, and the referee stopped the fight. The only thing I was worried about that. But like on Thursday, everybody remember Phylis Lee. Do you remember Phylis Lee?
Oh,
my
you know,
manager, yeah.
we talk about her often. We've got many good memories of her.
Yeah.
How much money did she take from you?
It's nothing. Phylis, when she saw my cut, she said, use a super glue. Was Phylis Lee idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good old wrestling idea. That is Phyllis.
Yeah,
That's pro wrestling.
Yeah. And I look at him and said, what? Use the super glue. I said, come on, how are you gonna take off the super glue for my skin after that?
Yeah, worry about it later.
And it was funny. And then I bought the super glue and I put the super glue. I went to the cage with the super glue against Tank Abbott. It worked well because I didn't burn that fight.
It kept it closed. No, it did a really good job.
Good job. Was Phyllis the idea that night?
That's very good.
Phyllis was actually my cornerman a couple of times in Japan.
Oh yeah, really?
Well, she wasn't supposed to be, but she took my cornerman pass. So yeah, she.
Interesting woman. So after this, so check this out. Like, I don't think John Peretti liked you, and I say that with respect because your next opponent at UFC 18.
Wait,
hold
on.
Miguel had a question.
Let me leave it in Brazil for a little bit. Sorry.
Go ahead. I apologize.
Okay. I was there actually at that show, and I remember, okay, Horn had lost to Ebenezer, and the crowd, like right now, fighters talk about going to Brazil in the crowd. This is 1997, 98, the crowd. And when this guy here, Pedro Rizzo, entered the ring for Tank, that crowd was crazy. It got even crazier later with Vitor and Vanderlei. But this crowd was absolutely crazy for this fight. And I looked at Bottarelli, who was helping them with the show, and I said, do you have enough security? And he looked at me and said, I don't know.
Well, I just remember that night before in the weigh-ins. The weigh-ins was in the hotel, like in the bar of the hotel. And everybody from I don't remember. I think it was John Perretti. John Perretti said to me, "Hey, if somebody step in the octagon, it's gonna be you're gonna have a fine of $150 for each people getting in the octagon." I said, "Okay, nobody will jump in the octagon." When Tank fell, when I knocked him out, like 40 guys jump in the octagon. and then I started screaming. No. They were all my friends. I said, "Get out, get out. I'm going to pay to fight. I have to pay to fight. I don't know."
Yeah. I don't know them. I don't know who these people are.
Yeah. They were his guys. Those guys were always people. You got to find him.
Everybody jumped. People, I said, man, I was so worried about because I have to pay $150 for each one. It's going to be much more than a Porsche. It's going to be much more than when I go. That's when I Porsche. So I said, "Come on, man, everybody get out, get out." I say to everybody to get out. Everybody screaming. Everybody was happy there. It was funny, man. It was so fun that night.
So did you feel like the UFC treated you well? Did they take care of you back then? I mean, it was the early days and UFC was different, but I mean, do you feel like they were good to you?
For that time was very good. For that time was very good. You know, they pay me what I signed to fight. So if I sign, if I give $1,000 and I sign that I will fight, that's it. That's it.
His next fight was against Mark Coleman.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Well, my second
hammer.
They weren't doing you any favors.
Tough fight.
No, not at all. Not at all. But that time, you know, I had already trained a lot of guard from the bottom with Tank. I just keep training. I said, okay. But for me, it was a big motivation. I would fight if somebody was a 3-time UFC champion, right? So Coleman was the guy. That guy, if I said, man, if I beat this guy, I can beat anyone in the world. This guy, for me, was the best one. So Coleman at that time, he was already the champion. So I worked a lot. I saw him fight with Pete Williams. I knew I said, hey, the good part, how Coleman can beat me. Cuts, he can't submit me. I'm good on the ground. He can't knock me out. I can stand up. How he can beat me? With cuts. He's not going to knock me out. So I knew it would be a long fight. So Coleman was Coleman already. Every time I fight with wrestlers, I always think the only way the wrestlers stop me is with cuts. It's the only way they can they beat me up. You know, I was always nervous because they have a lot of condition to take people down. What was Randy did for me. So, but I was kind of not relaxed. We never relaxed to fight against Mark Coleman, but I was like confident that I could beat him. If he beat me, it would be on points. I said he's not going to knock me out. He's not going to submit me. The fight's going to be on points. So I was ready for this. I was ready to fight 15 minutes or 18. It was 15 minutes fight because there was 2 overtimes. So was good. I was very well trained. I got in there, and there was a time break man. If I beat Coleman, I can beat anyone. So it was a big motivation for me. And you know, I was a big fan of Mark Coleman. I loved him, man. To fight with him I had like a lot of goals in my mind because Coleman was that guy, you know.
Savage.
Yeah. So I said, man, I'm gonna fight with Mark Coleman, you know. And I said I was motivated, but I was really scared a little bit. But I knew I was keeping my mind that he can't knock me out. He can't submit me. The only way he can't knock me out. So I said the only way to beat me is gonna be on points. I was thinking about that all the time. I went with this.
It's smart. It's smart.
Yeah. I said I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there. If he beat me on points. So whatever. He's the 3-time champion. I have nothing to prove. Yeah. So I went there and fought with him.
So we just Mark was our last guest, and sometimes, Pedro, I had things in my head. I had personal issues. I had a bad training camp. I was arguing with somebody. There's many excuses of why people don't win fights. And Mark said that the reason he lost this fight was because of the country of Brazil. Because he would go down and party.
Explain it.
And it was too much fun. He couldn't not have fun, and the time would slip away. And it's the country of Brazil's fault that he loses. He lost some of his fights.
He had too much fun.
That is
too much. It's like, I didn't train enough. That's what he said about his footage.
Yeah. I maybe he underestimated me. He underestimated me getting there. But for me, it was the fight of my life.
Yeah.
So I said, it's the fight of my life. A fight with Mark Coleman. Mark Coleman was already Mark Coleman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I said, man, it was the fight of my life. I trained a lot. I didn't know what he had to do. I didn't know. I was there. When I get in, I went. I remember today. I was waiting to walk to the cage, and he was behind me. I was blue corner, of course. And when I saw him, my heart started bumping. I said, "Fuck, man! I really will fight Mark Coleman."
That's Mark Coleman.
Yeah.
Hey, Marco, look at that guy. That's Coleman behind us.
You think he'll get a picture with me afterwards?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he is mean and as rough as he is. When you talk to him about Brazil, nothing but just respect, good memories, love. He loves your country, man. He really does.
Yeah, and I really love him, man. I love Coleman, man. I really love him. I love all the guys from their team. Coleman, Randleman, Kevin. All these guys were great, man, with me. Every time they're very respectful. I like them. They really have a good energy, all them.
Like, you wouldn't think that they'd be respectful because they're so rough, but they are. Yeah. Until they're not. Yeah. So from there, you fight on UFC 20. Like, the UFC's hot on you. Like, you just beat two of their big stars. You're becoming a name, and people know who you are now. In the entire all the fan base of the UFC, they're understanding who you are and what you bring to the ring. And you fight another Lions Den guy in Telligman at UFC 20. Did Trey take this fight last minute?
I don't know. I don't know. I knew about Trey. He already had fight with Vitor.
9-1-1 at this time, and you're technically 4-0.
Yeah.
No, 3-4, 6-0. I apologize. 2-0 in the UFC.
Yeah. Then when they called me to fight Trey Telligman, the funny part, really funny. I was in the dressing room warming up, and Coleman was there with somebody, with another fighter. I don't remember. And Mark looked at me. We just had fight, Coleman and me, and we had a good relation. And Coleman just looked at me and said, "Pedro, just worry about his hand. He hits very hard. Trey Telligman helped me in the fight. He hits hard." I said, "Okay, thank you. Nice tip to do in the dressing room." He hits. And I was a kid, man. And I look at Marco and said, "Marco, Coleman said he hits hard." And Marco said, "Fucking Coleman, you have to beat this guy.
Get out of here."
Yeah.
So, and I was really nervous with that.
So do you recall, did Trey Telligman, how that fight came about?
I guess I don't remember. You just told me that he missed the weigh-in. I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I remember that I got there. The fight was in Alabama, I think. And I remember I got there around Tuesday to fight on Friday. I don't remember the weigh-in, if he was there or not.
Okay. So was part of your strategy, was he came out on fire? I don't know this, but it appears to me you were shortening your punches. So when you would miss by a little bit more and give him confidence to step in closer to you in order for you to touch him. Was that part of your strategy?
No, he came to exchange blows. He came in like a forward, punch me. I said, "Okay." So I said, "I'm gonna put my chin against my chest and he fired back. That's what I wanted. No, I had any like strategy for that. He came to give me a punch. I put my shin down and started hitting him back. I knew, I always hit hard. So I said, man, if I touch him, he's gonna feel too. I once made him to feel a little bit my power, and then we exchanged blows. But I think I touched him hard one time because he stopped it. Boom! Then he stopped it. When he stopped, I said, okay, let's start fighting now. Because it was like in the first second of the fight, he jumped on me and he started to exchange blows. I remember that. And then I started kicking his leg, using my kickboxing. So I was calmed down. Since I saw the spot, I give the left hook and the straight right. That's it.
So you finished him. So in essence, Pedro's becoming a big star. And what they're doing is they're talking about lining you up for a title fight. So his next opponent at UFC 23, they fly you to Japan, from Brazil to Japan. Were you with Marco in LA at the time, or did you go to Brazil?
I was in LA.
Okay, so you went from LA to Japan to fight a guy that almost beat Bas Rutten, and that's TK Kosaka.
Yeah.
Who's as tough as they come, man.
No, I came from Brazil.
Okay. So he's 29-20-1 in Rings Japan. But as like we've discussed with Japan, the way they match made over there, it wasn't very friendly to the fighter. They try to kind of beat everybody's records. But you're looking at a 50 Fight Club member that almost beat Bas Rutten, and Rizzo's 9-0 at the time.
Yeah.
And you're in Japan.
Yeah, I was there, but the worst part for me always was the jet lag, man. I can't sleep in Japan. I have, when I go there, I have to get in the fight like 2 weeks before, because if I get there on the fight week, I can't sleep, man. I can't sleep. It happened, every time I go to Japan, it's hard for me. I love to find America because we are behind me in the time. So when I'm there, I used to wake up early and go to the bed early. So it's good for me. But Japan is, it's a 12-hour jet lag for us.
And it's your second time there. Yes.
Yeah. So
you fought Michael Thompson in K1.
Yeah. And both I just slept one day. Even when I fought with Kosaka, I remember we used to go to the arena at 8 a.m. So I just sleep.
It's too early.
Yeah, because of the American jet, because the American time. So we have to show have to put the show in America TV.
No.
So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I think from West Zone in America, I think it's 17 hours difference. So if we start fighting like 10 a.m., it's gonna be like 5 p.m. in America day after, one day after.
Well, a little bit of I'm sorry, a little bit of info for history fans. That Kosaka, at this point, had joined the Alliance. So he was working out with Maurice Smith and Frank Shamrock and was part of that team of groups of people, which was now very, very separate than the Lions Den. They were not together anymore. So you went from Trey Telligman to their ex-teammates there, but there was no relation. So that's what makes the Kosaka fight interesting, was he's coming off, but he's actually fighting Maurice Smith, Frank Shamrock, and that team there, and he's Marco Ruas and that. And that's how the UFC and John Peretti looked at it, by factions and by groups like that.
All right. Yeah, TK, I knew would be a tough fight. I knew he would take me to the ground, and he's a southpaw. So I had to kick him inside the leg, use more my right, and but the fight was a technical fight. Wasn't like a brawl. Was a technical fight that night. I was technical, and he came with the same way. So I could kick him inside many times. And when he tried to take me down, I could see his shooting. So give me a lot of confidence that night. When he shoot me first time, he couldn't take to the ground. He couldn't even mess me up. I said, okay. So then I feel comfortable. The only thing that Marco was very upset with me because I was too technical. I told him out. He
That's
said,
funny.
knock this guy out, man. You are here for what? You came from Brazil to Japan for to do this. Knock this guy out, man. This guy can't handle you. I said, okay, I'll try. I'll try.
Yeah, okay.
Hey,
I'll be right back.
I love the,
Let me
I love the old
get
school coach. That sounds like a Mark Coleman coaching,
Yeah.
Kella, that sounds like Mark Coleman.
Yeah.
So Pedro, Miguel likes to use a term, checking off a lot of boxes. And that is what people on the administrative side tend to say. At this time, people are looking at you kind of like a horse. Like, how is he a lead horse? Is he easy to deal with? Does he come in shape? What's the weight difference between the fights? The one thing that they took away from this is that you knocked TK down 3 times in the 3rd round. So you were able to carry your power into the later parts of a fight, which not many people can do.
Yeah, because I feel comfortable. He's a southpaw, and he couldn't take me to the ground. Every time I said, all my career, when I fight wrestlers, he wants to take me to the ground. So when I can avoid his takedown, I know he's gonna get what they're gonna do now. They have not too much options to be stand up for me. And then when I feel when he didn't take me to the ground, the first round and the second round, I said, okay, Marco said to me, knock this guy out, man. This guy can't take you down. And this guy, he has no level to be stand up with you. Knock this guy out. So when I kick him, the 3rd time, his leg, I saw he was feeling a lot the leg, but everybody would start feeling the leg, they forget the hands. So he was, I heard it, I knew he was hurting, his leg was hurting. I said, okay, time to box. He's southpaw. I'm gonna go for a straight right, go to the left. So, and then I touch him like with a left hook, was a knockdown, and then I give him one more punch, and then he looked at the big John McCarthy already, like he didn't want to fight anymore. And then I said, okay, that's it. So it was like this, the fight.
There was another kind of act of kindness on your end. So now we're at 2. We're at 2 of those. Yeah. So in essence, all right, there's the legendary bout that you were never in is up next. And everybody talks about it, but I've never heard your angle. Like, I never heard your story in regards to this. UFC 24 main event for the UFC world title. They put you in with Kevin Randleman. Kevin Randleman slips backstage on a bunch of curtain rods and is knocked unconscious right before he walks out to the cage.
I remember this.
Yeah, I remember too.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what do you recall from that night?
Man, was in Cedar Rapids. Was in Cedar Rapids in Iowa, I think. Was a very small town, man. Very, very small town. I remember I wanted to eat something that wasn't anywhere to go to eat. And I said, why UFC came to this city to make UFC heavyweight championship? And I was very well trained, man. I was ready to go. And we were in the dressing room, warming up. And suddenly, Mark Coleman got in the dressing room and said, hey, what? Hey, this guy he's a coach of the Kevin Randleman. He can't get in. I start screaming, hey, Coleman, you can't be here, man. Get out of here. And then Coleman said, hey, I have to talk with you guys. I said, what happened? He said, hey, Kevin just slipped. He hit the head on the ground. He fell out. He's going to go to the hospital right now. The fight's it's not going to happen. And man,
it's got to be disheartening knowing you were a title fight. You're getting ready to go to your title fight, and that happens. I can't imagine a letdown because you built up, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
over. It's painful, man.
I look at them and I said, "What, man? Never." It was something like unbelievable to happen. I said,
"Is this April 1st? What are you? Are we doing jokes, Mark?
Come on, it's happening.
Trying your stand-up out?
Come on,
yeah,
Mark.
I said, I couldn't believe. And I said to Marco, hey, please, and Roberto Leitão, the wrestling coach, because he's speaking English well, I said, hey, go there to let know what happened. What should I do? What happened? No, I'm not going to fight. I'm going to fight for the title. Hey, I should fight. So many things to think. And they didn't know. Said, what going to do? So then the fight didn't happen. So I said, what can I do? I remember that time was Bob Milovich, the owner of UFC. Yep. And Bob went to the dressing room and said, okay, Pedro, we're going to pay you the show up money. And we're going to reschedule the fight for the next show. But I was kind of, I don't care for the money, man. I want to fight for the title. I don't care.
Yeah.
But had nothing to do. So was that?
What was said afterward? Like anything at the after party? Was it?
No, I didn't see him. I just spoke with Coleman, just with Mark. Just Mark went to our dressing room, and after that, in the after party, Kevin also wasn't there. They said he was in the hospital. Coleman was in the after party, and he was very embarrassed. He was very embarrassed. Like, hey, I'm sorry. I said, okay, Mark, it's not your fault. And shit happens, And what?
We're ready for the main event, and I'm watching that pay-per-view. Pedro, I'm a kid. I got my popcorn. I'm like, man, this is it, And they're like, yeah, the main event's not going to happen. I'm like, what? It had to have been chaos.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, man. It was unbelievable that day.
Yeah, he mentioned it was in Cedar Falls, and the main event was obviously the heavyweight title, but they had Milicic and that crew on there, and that's their hometown. So
was Milicic against who?
John Alessio, I think.
Okay.
He submitted him pretty quick, yeah.
And so you had Milicic on the card. They had Tyrone Roberts, so Matt Hughes. So I think they could slip it by the live audience. They got lucky.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So 3 months later is June 9th, 2000. Obviously, you're the main event again. So now you're the main event for a world title fight a second time. Did the constant back-to-back, I shouldn't say constant, but the back-to-back fights, did it mess your peak up? Did it mess up your motivation? How was your head going into the second fight? It's a rematch of a fight that never took place.
It is what it is. If you want to be a champion, you have to step in and fight. That's it. So I have nothing to think about. I wanted to be a champion. To be a champion, I have to beat Kevin. I had to beat him. So I prepared myself. I took like 2 weeks off and started training again. That's what I did. And I was right to fight with him again. So, and then I lost the fight. I took the headbutt. So second round, I don't remember the fight very well.
The first round, Kevin rushes in. I mean, these two giant human beings fly against the cage wall, and the bounce back off the cage wall, Kevin uses in order to get a takedown. It's the most bizarre way to get a takedown that I've ever seen then and now. And in between the first and second round, you hear Coleman, like, look at his eye. I think it was your left eye. You received a headbutt in one of your exchanges, and your eye was very swollen.
No, the headbutt was in the second round.
Was it the second round? Okay.
Was the second round. He came to take to the ground. He came because Kevin didn't change the level. He was smaller than me. He came to hit against me to try to take me down the same way he did in the first round.
Okay, so the second round of headbutt took place, but you had swelling on your eye from the first round. I'm looking at my notes, like I have exactly what it is you're saying. Yeah. Something took place in that first round, and I watched that first round 3 times. I couldn't find it. Did you come in with a really swollen eye?
Oh yeah, I was. I had.
That's probably it. Okay.
Yeah, I was the trainer. I knew if you touch my eyes, I would be screwed up. I knew that because I had this in the training. I had the training. I don't remember if it was a headbutt or was a punch or knee. I don't remember. But
going to Ebenezer Braga again, maybe.
He's back. Yeah. When I went to the fight week, my eyes was already swelling.
Dude, I can't imagine those training sessions.
Was the best, man.
Hardcore, old school.
So
it's worse than a fight, but we get to fight against anyone, man.
Yeah. So you come up on a short against Kevin Randleman, who just put into the UFC Hall of Fame. That's got to make you happy. You know, you've got 2 guys that are in the UFC Hall of Fame. You know that you fight, actually 3, because your next fight's against Dan Severn.
Yeah.
This is interesting. We actually got his corner man on a few episodes
this is interesting.
ago. He broke this down.
Going back a little bit against Kevin in the second round, I took the headbutt, and the last thing I remember in the fight was I was saying to John McCarthy, "Hey, it wasn't a headbutt." I said to John, and John said to me, "Hey, keep fighting. It wasn't intentional." I said, "Okay, I'll keep fighting." But after that, I don't remember anything. I think I had a later knockout. I don't remember. All the fight. When I came to myself, I was already in the dressing room, and I was asking to Marco Ruas, "Hey, I was a knockout." And Marco said, "No." I said, "What's a knockout?" He said to me, "Hey, you asked me already 100 times. You lost some points." I said, "I lost some points? I don't remember, Kevin, the referee saying, hey, the left corner or the steal, the heavyweight. I don't remember anything. The only thing I remember was already in the dressing room. The headbutt knocked me out a little bit, but and then I watched the fight in the tape later. The last round was horrible. People was throwing pipes, cups, pipes, everything inside.
Beer, they're throwing beer. And Randleman didn't care. Randleman was smiling. It's like, I don't care.
I wasn't there already, so I don't remember anything. So I said, come on, man, I don't remember. So that's why the only part I would like to remember about this fight that I took the headbutt, I really don't remember that. But that night, it was Kevin's night. That's it. So about Dan Severn. Let's go.
Main event, UFC 27.
Yeah, they said to me, "You're gonna fight Dan Severn." I said, "Okay." Said Dan is big. He can't take it to the ground because I think he has. That time I was defending very well the takedowns, and I was thinking the only way that he wants to take me to the ground. He can't fight stand up with me, and I was pretty confident in that fight. Because I was thinking, because then he used to fight with his base very open. His feet are wide, so it's easy to kick his leg. Because when people used to fight with like this, it's easy to block. He can block. But when your legs are too open, you can't block the low kick. I said, so the low kick is the key to beat the fight. He's a southpaw. Southpaw to try to take a people that when you kick is worse than when you are
straight right hand.
Yeah, right hand. That's it. So the fight was, but because southpaw also fight like a mirror with you is also good for high kicks. So I was trying to give him a high kick to in that.
Man, you buzzed him. And he freaked out. Pedro throws this kick where it misses Dan by like a quarter of an inch, and you see Dan's face going, "Oh no, this is not happening. No, I didn't sign up for this."
Yeah, man. You know that. You know that I was higher than him. My foot passed over his head. You know.
It cut his hair.
Yeah. Man, you know, I think it was better because I give him full power, man. I give him everything. Say I'm gonna kill him right now, and I kick him as hard as I could, but I missed the kick. So I said, okay, we go to the legs. So then I started kicking the legs. First kick, I saw he fell, and then the second kick, I fell when he sit on his knees. He looked at me and said, "I'm okay. I'm okay." I said, "Okay." So it's over.
So his
Mercy
cornerman,
once again.
yeah. So his cornerman, Freddie Rodriguez, was just on. Like he was like 2 episodes ago, and he said, "Yeah, if you watch Dan, he's limping on the other foot. Like he's
You
saying
kicked him
that
so hard in the left, his right hurt."
Yeah, and Pedro, at the end of the fight, you point at Dan and you say something in Portuguese, something like "get up," or I couldn't make it out. I tried to, like, I speak Spanish, I couldn't figure out what you were saying. It appeared that you kind of knew that Dan laid down, that he didn't want to fight that night.
Yeah, so he don't. But do you know with who I screamed? You don't know?
No.
Was for Phylis.
Oh,
really?
Was for Phylis because
for her attention, her love.
No, because Phylis said to me she was upset with Dan Severn. She used to be a Dan Severn manager, and they are not working anymore together. And Phylis, he helped me with Tank with the super glue. And when I was in the dressing room, he came to me and said, "Please, knock him out for me." Stood me up. Was for Phylis, man.
Okay,
that's awesome.
So
I loved her because she helped me against Tank, you know. So I said, "Okay, it's my payback." I looked at him and said, "For you." What I said in English, I said, "It's for you." I said to her, "What's for
That's
you?"
awesome.
That's Mike, we're gonna call that clip. Phylis had a bounty on Dan Severn.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, his cornerman pretty much said, yeah, he didn't even train for that fight. He went in to get a payday. He saw that kick fly by his head. He goes, "Oh, I gotta get out of here."
Yeah.
So you know the one telling thing, and like, I'm not trying to go back, but when you received that headbutt from Kevin Randleman, it opened up a huge gash on your nose.
Yeah.
And the scar tissue never went away. When you went into the ring for Dan Severn, the amount of grease that they needed to put on, it looked like it was an open wound still. It just it wasn't closing.
Yeah, because I went to the doctor. The doctor, he stitched me, but he had a lot of pressure in the skin. So he said it's gonna be a little open, your cut. But after, I don't know which fight, I went to the plastic surgery to close very well. And now I don't have anymore. But I had this for like a year, more than a year.
Wow.
It wouldn't close. Yeah, you walk into the ring with the damaged nose. That's how brutal that headbutt was in the Kevin Randleman fight.
That's it.
I mean,
that's it.
It was brutal. Yeah, it really was. So we're supposed to fight Randy Couture, UFC 28. And the bout got canceled.
Yeah.
Do you recall why?
I don't remember why. I don't remember.
Did you injure your knee?
Oh, me?
Yes. In training?
I don't remember.
I saw something in Portuguese. I heard Lorija, and I'm like, man, I think it's a knee.
I asked you to postpone. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I believe it's due to a knee. I believe so. So check this out. We're listing all of these crazy high-end opponents that Pedro has stepped into the cage with. He fights Josh Barnett February 23rd, 2001, UFC 30, and beats him.
Well, I remember it knocked him out. Good fight.
Yeah.
That's another guy that decided to come after you and make, like kind of like Tank and stuff and be aggressive. You think they would learn.
Josh actually impressed me that night. I remember that was the first time I saw him, and I was like, this guy's pretty good.
10-0. Yeah.
He was good.
10-0. He was 10-0 going into that fight.
And he just had beat Severn.
Yeah, he looked.
Submit and Severn. Armbar.
So Pedro, like Gray Maynard, and I mean, I say this with all due respect, he gets the title of the greatest UFC competitor to never win a world title. But when you look at the body of work that you had, I mean, you fought 4 world champions, and the only time you ever lost was in title fights. Like, I think the title,
I lost one. Another one I won. They screwed me up.
Oh, are you talking about with Couture? Is that what you're going to talk
with Randy Couture. Well, that's the next bout. So why don't we walk through Josh Barnett?
Yeah, we go for Josh.
Especially with Matt Hume in his corner. Like, for us 3, we look at Matt Hume as an absolute genius. And no matter what your plan is, you got to kind of count on the unknown when he's in somebody's corner.
You know what? I saw Josh just submit Severn. I saw he used to fight as Super Bro, I think. I don't remember.
In Hawaii, that's correct.
Yeah. So I saw him win the fight by knockout, submit people. I saw, okay, I will fight against some all-around fighter. I knew he was. And they postponed the fight with Couture, and they called me and said, okay, you can fight with Josh Barnett. That's why they said to me. Said, okay. When I saw Josh, and I was talking with Marco Ruas about that, because Josh, we knew he was really tough fighter. That guy, Josh, got into the UFC to be a champion.
For sure.
He's a great fighter. And then
he hit you. He hit you a lot.
Yeah. I know.
He impressed me.
Yeah, 95% of that locker room would have fell. The confidence, there's 2 things, man. Pedro, the confidence that you had in your chin was like, it was mind-blowing to me. Like, wow. And when you hit him that last time, you did a walk away. You did a walk away knockout. And it's like, it's the confidence you also have in your fists was just, it was mind-blowing to me, man. Like, it's so, I was sold. Like, I was in. I was on the Pedro Rizzo bandwagon at this point.
Thank you. Yeah, man, I was with, when I fought with Josh, I knew that it would be, because the Zuffa just bought the UFC from the SCG in that night against Josh. And then they went to my, before the fight, one day before the fight, they said the new owners of UFC, Frank and Lorenzo and Dana White, all these guys, they introduced us they introduced them to us. And good show for you tomorrow. That's it. Okay, let's go. And then they called me to fight Josh. And I had a talk with Marco Ruas. Said, Marco, I have already the title fight agreed with the Couture on, I don't know, April, May. We didn't know at that time which date. So I'm already going to fight for the title. Should we wait for the title? Should we take the risk against this guy? Gonna make he's a tough fighter. What should I do? And Marco Ruas said to me something that I never will forget. He said to me, hey, we are a fighter. I said, yeah, we are. I said, okay, do you want to be a world champion? Yes, I want to be a world champion. So we have to beat all the world. That's it. If you don't fight with Barnett, or if Barnett beat you because you're not ready to be a world champion yet. So you have to beat everybody in the world to be a world champion.
See, Pedro, that's an old school mentality. And that was always mine. And I know it cost me. And people won't do that anymore. People sit back and like, nope, I'm not doing anything until the title. But that's how it should be, man. I like what you're saying there. And he was right. I totally agree with him. You got to fight, man. And maybe not me the smartest thing, but I never did anything smart. It was, as a fighter, you got to fight, man. You got a real fighter mentality.
I'm sorry, Pedro, tell a story about Marco Ruas, because you said you met him like in 1984. Like, when was the first time you saw him smile? Like in 1997? Because he's a mean man, you know what I mean?
He's not nice. He's not
a
nice.
lot of the big coaches, like even Chris tells about his experience in Japan with Suzuki, very mean. Matt Hume, very mean in the gym. Tell us a Marco Ruas story. I think he was tough on you.
I am very mean if I stood at you.
Okay.
Yeah. Now you were taught. That's how you do it.
This is the way I learn it.
Yeah.
But I think Marco is a great guy, man. He's my stepfather, man. Come on. You know, I have my father loved him every day, every time when we meet everybody together. My father always say, "Hey, thank you very much for all you did for Pedro." You know.
I know it's a special relationship. Thank you.
Yeah. And but Marco, he's great, man. He's great. You know, he's the best guy ever, man. He's a real. You know, he's the type of the biggest character I know. He doesn't care about money. He doesn't care about anything. He just wants to help you, make you the best as you can, you know. And Marco, you know, like when he finished the fight, I wanted to pay him, giving him the coach payment. Said, no, I don't want anything. Said, hey man, you have to honor money. I just won the fight. No, I don't want anything. I had all my fights. I had to call to his wife, Luciana, send me the account. I will send the money because Marco doesn't want to.
He loved you, man. He loved you.
Yeah. And I said to him, I had to pay, and I always pay more than normal. And Luciana always say, Pedro, it's not right. You should give you you gave me a little bit more. I said, hey, Luciana, he never charged me 1 month to be in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he beat you up a lot too, though. I mean, it's
He did.
I mean, he had a punching bag. I mean,
that's what I wanted to get to, the special relationship, because I remember when I met you at the UFC Brazil when you fought Tank, and we were doing an interview with you, and all you cared about was talking about Marco, your master.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, thank you.
All right, so we're gonna kind of tread on some rough waters here, and Pedro, this might get you emotional because it is Randy Couture. I've got my notes. This is a hard one to talk about. You got screwed.
I remember watching this fight.
You
I was
got
just
screwed.
like, I mean, I was a big Randy fan, but I was like, I'm not sure how they came up with this one.
Yeah.
So let's kind of roll it out. And I've kind of got my points that might be a little different than other people's. So I'd like to hear it from you first, and then we'll kind of counter.
Man, I worked a lot for that fight, you know, and I really think I won the fight. At the end of the fight, I'm being sincere. I asked it to Marco. I said, Marco, I won the fight. Marco said, yeah, I won the fight. And Marco was, you know, he said to me, first round you lost, second round you won, third round was you keep the fight stand a little bit, then he took you down, but nobody did so many things. Fourth round, you won 100%, and 50th round, you beat him. Like you lost 1 round, first round. I said, okay, I won the fight. And I was 100% sure that I had become a UFC champion that night. And when they said it was a unanimous decision for Randy, I said, okay. So I was really confused. I said, what kind of the judges? So, you know, and then Frank Shamrock was the guy who used to do the interview in the ring. And Frank, he called me and said, hey, Pedro, first question. Pedro, I don't know what kind of the judges saw, but I thought you won the fight. Tell me about the fight. And I look at him. I said, I don't know what the kind of judge saw, man. I won the fight. I'm UFC champion right now, but they gave to him. So I have nothing to say. You know, I did everything. I remember, man, first round, he beat me up.
Well, here, first round, not only did he beat you up, but Big John was hovering over, like ready to stop the fight, and the round ended.
You know
But
what?
now,
You know what? Just before the fight in the dressing room, I said, John, I don't know if he did that because I said to him, but the only thing I did to John when I was in the dressing room, I had that cut in my nose already. I said, John, don't.
from Randleman. That's a Randleman injury showing up in this fight. So that's how devastating that headbutt was. So go ahead.
Yeah. I said, John, please don't stop the fight because I'm bleeding. I will bleed. I have 400 stitches in my face.
Yeah.
He gonna cut me. Don't stop the fight because I'm bleeding. I'm okay. I said, please, just do it for me. In the dressing room before the fight, he said, Pedro, I have to take care of your safe. If you are too bad, I will stop the fight. I said, okay, but I'm not too bad. Please don't stop the fight. It's a tight
Pedro,
fight, man.
I'd always do the same thing. I'd always bring the referee in and be like, I've been knocked down. I'll get up. Or, if I'm going to get choked out, I'll be fine. I was like, do not stop this fight unless I'm unconscious sitting there. That's the only time you're allowed to stop it. And I don't know if they do it, but it helped. They always like to hear that because they know if it's close, let it go. You know what I mean? I always felt like it's important to do.
Yeah, that's what I did. In the first round, he killed me. And then when we finished the fight, the first round, I remember I went to the corner, Marco, who was getting in the cage, and Marco said to me, Pedro, said, look at him, said, finish the fight. I said, what? Please knock him out in the second round. I said, why? It's the first round. We have 4 rounds. I said, no, you have just 1 more round. Because Marco said to me, last round. I said, no, we have 4 more rounds. And Marco said, last round. I didn't understand that. Then he told me because the cut was too big. He was scared they stopped the fight in the second.
What this is compounded, Chris. This is compounded. So Randy, like I said, he's really working for a finish at the end of the first round.
He burned himself out. He was done.
Pedro, what's the first thing you did in the second round?
No, just a few seconds before. I was very tired in the first round because he killed me. I had to survive in the first round. And then Marco, who was in front of me, Marco said to me, he's dead.
He is. He was. He blew his wad.
Marco, who said to me, he gave everything.
He did. Exactly.
He didn't stop at you. But when he said this to me, he got out in front of me and showed me, look at him. And then Henderson was in his corner. And then he was sitting on the chair with his head down, fucked up. And look at him. He can't fight anymore. Beat this guy up. You're going to be world champion tonight. Go there and beat him up. He's fucked up.
It's so smart. Look at the experience.
I mean,
most of the people after watching that, they wouldn't say that. They'd be like,
I was bad. But when
no.
I said, I'm okay. I'm okay.
I mean, Randy had nothing left after that. I remember that after the first round, the next 4, he had nothing left. And I couldn't believe they gave him the fight. Like, how'd they give him any more than 1 round? I just never understood that because he was so dead after. I was impressed he made it the whole time, to be honest with you.
He was like a marathon, and he crawled across the finish line.
100%.
He didn't jog. He wasn't walking. He was crawling. So in the second round, Pedro lands a shot to the midsection right away, right off the bat. And it was just all downhill. It was all downhill for Randy. And I'll tell you what, if you want to look at the grit of Randy Couture, like, you want to know how tough Randy Couture is? Watch that second round, because I think only a handful of people in the world would have came out for round 3. That's how bad the ass kicking was.
Yeah. The second round, I didn't hear the bell, and Randy was with his hand on the ground and was hitting him. And John stopped at me. I said I had won the fight. I said I won. And Marco said, no, I didn't hear the bell.
What?
And then I went to the round. I said to him, oh, all right, we are 1-1. He beat me.
I would have said, Marco, I would have told Marco, you told me the fight was just one more round. What do you mean? You're lying.
The draw?
Yeah, there was a draw. And the third round, I was thinking, he just can't take me to the ground. I have to keep the fight, stand up, then I'm going to beat him up. And I think it was like 2 minutes of the third round. He took me down, but he was dead.
He did nothing. Just held you.
You know, the funny part, I was laying on the middle of the cage. I was looking at the lights on the top, the lights of the cage. I was looking because he was laying on my belly like this.
Yeah.
I look at him and said, what the fuck? And then I hit him. Boom, I started hitting.
Get up.
I said, he's here. My hand is here. His face here. Let's hit him. I started hitting him. So then we stay like, I don't know, 1.5 minutes out there. And then we finished the third round.
Well, wait, no. Oh, no. There's something very important you're missing. And this is probably the most important part of this entire fight. Randy is shooting over and over, and he's not returning to his feet. He's going to his knees and bending down. So Pedro is hitting him over and over. So at this time, Randy gets a takedown. Pedro reverses. Big John said, you know what? We got to have the doctor take a look at Randy's nose. Dude, in amazing wrestling fashion. Like this is why wrestlers are the best, because they know all the tricks. He goes over to the door, and the doctor's standing up, asking him to get up. Dan Henderson crawls underneath the doctor and starts talking. No, come down here. So what's happening is there's like an extra minute. There's an extra minute where Dan Henderson's giving him water, giving him instruction, and kind of like messing things up to buy more time for Randy to get oxygen. Think about this. Randy's about to go down. He's about to get finished. The referee stops in and goes, nope, before this finish takes place, I need the doctor to take a look at it just to make sure when Pedro finishes him that Randy's of sound mind. He stopped the finish from taking place.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
And Henderson's brilliant. Dan Henderson is brilliant.
Yeah, you're right. And then we went to the fourth. I won the fourth round. He took me down like 30 seconds before the end. But I was too tired to finish the fight, to hit him hard. I was too tired. And the fifth, the only thing that Marco said, hey, don't let him take you down. Kill him. He's dead. I wanted to say I'm dead too, but I couldn't say anything.
Don't say that.
Yeah. And then the fifth round, I beat him. The fight, the end with him on the bottom, and I hit him. I said, I won.
With a leg kick. You dropped him with a leg kick at the end of the fight.
Yeah, that's true.
That closed the fifth round. It closed the fifth round.
Yeah. He fell, and I hit him 2-3 times, and then it was over. And then I said, okay, I won the fight. Today I was a UFC champion. And then they gave to him. Man, now we can talk about frustration.
So I have a caveat to this. So like in my job, Pedro, is to do tons of research. Like I do a lot of research on people. So in my journey of doing research, one of the judges is Douglas Crosby. Now, Douglas Crosby, he in essence is the person that helped build the Chael Sonnen persona. He's an actor, phenomenal guy. I've met him 3 or 4 times. But him and Chael Sonnen are super close, and he's kind of a smartass. He's a very funny guy. So in essence, he judges the Jason Black Antonio McKee bout, and he just scored the third round a 10-8 for Jason Black, which was like mind-boggling. Like it could have been like the other way around. They never disclosed his scorecard, but he was one of the judges on this fight.
That's it. Because I'm gonna say like Mark Coleman, because the fight was in America. I'm kidding. I really love America. I really love America.
I know, but I love Japan, and I fought there many times, and you're not winning a close decision there. It's just not going to happen. You know, it's a real thing. Hometown favorite. It's just a real thing, you know, especially in that fight. I couldn't believe they gave that fight to Randy. I thought
that hurt me.
I was a big Randy fan. I was like, there's no way he won the first round. That's it.
Dude, I'm a huge Randy fan, but what's right is right.
Yeah. He won the first round.
Randy should call me and say, hey, Pedro, can you pick up your belt? It's here in my house.
We'll reshoot the last part of it.
Has Randy ever commented on that fight? Has he ever said anything about it? Do you know?
We're going to get him on here. We're going to walk him through it, just like we just walked Pedro through it. Like Dan Henderson.
Randy.
Yeah, we're going to get him. We're getting Randy.
Okay.
Tell them Pedro asking his belt.
We have his address. You can send it to him. Right. and you know what's crazy? Randy is so brilliant. Like the Team Quest camp is so smart. And they offered, I mean, it was an immediate rematch, obviously, because everybody knew what took place. And Randy knew not to blow his wad, not to blow his cardio. He just paced himself.
He learned.
Yeah. The other thing I remember that fight, the day after the fight, we had to take a van because the fight was in New Jersey. We had to take a van because our flight, I think was in New York, JFK. I don't remember.
Okay.
And everybody was in the lobby waiting for the van. So the van arrived. Everybody went to the van, and Randy was in the wheelchair. He was in the wheelchair. So we look at him. Who pushed the wheelchair was me. They forgot.
Oh,
wow.
no.
Even his daughter was there. And I said, I'll help you, my brother. He was like, no, Pedro. He was little. You
got him. You had to.
He was a little shy. I said, no, I'll take you, my brother. And then I took him to the van, and his daughter was beside me. He said, no problem, I'll take him. And he got in the conference, the press conference after the fight. Everybody's waiting for him because he got into the wheelchair. And the day after the fight, his leg was much worse than after the fight. And then the way to go to the van, I will take you, brother. I took him. I pushed his wheelchair to the van. And I said, I should ask him, do you really think you won the fight? You know? And I love it. But I
pushed him off the stairs. You know?
Pick him up and carry him.
But I love Randy, man. Randy's a great guy, very polite. Every time I meet him, he's a great man. He's a gentleman.
Yeah.
So you fought two more world champions, and we're going to get to them because we've taken up a lot of your time. Andrei Arlovski, March 22nd, 2002, UFC 36. Andrei Arlovski's a freaking stud.
Yeah.
Want to walk us through it?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, they said they're going to fight Arlovski. They're going to open the card. I said, okay. I saw him fighting. So when I saw I would fight with a striker, I went to Holland. I stay in Holland training with Peter Arts, with Harry Holford. Now Harry Holford lives in America.
Henry Hoof.
Yeah. He's in Sanford, Florida. Yeah.
He's a great friend of mine.
I like Henry. Good dude.
He helped me a lot. So I stayed in the middle, and there was Henry Boyansky, Henry Hughes, everybody from KO, Stefan Lecco. So, and it was 5 guys. I stay in the middle, everybody do 1 minute with me. I would fight with Arlovski. I didn't turn on the ground for that fight. I just turned stand up because I knew he couldn't take it to the ground. I said the fight's going to be stand up.
Yep.
So, and then I was thinking like, hey, if I can train with Peter Arts, Remy Boyansky, Harry Hofen, René Hus, and Stefan Lecco, I'm ready to fight against anyone stand up, man. Doesn't matter who will fight. So everybody watching his fight said he's a good boxer. He hits hard. You have to take care of his hand. He's taller than me. But I said, okay, I turned everybody's taller than me in Holland. I'm small. I'm a short guy there in Holland. So I was very well trained, you know. It was a kickboxing fight for me that night. So, but I really think, what I really remember, the first round, the fight wasn't that good. First round was too technical. First round, The second round, Marco looked at me and said, hey, let's go, man. This guy can handle you. You kick him in the leg 2 times, his finger in the leg. And I remember Marco looked at me, he slapped my face and said, hey, this guy has no level to be with you 3 rounds, 5 minutes in the ring. Knock this guy out. You train with the best guy, stand-up fighter in the world, my brother. Knock this guy out, man. It's gonna be a shame if you beat this guy on points.
And listen to that corner.
I love it. I love the corner work. I love it. Old school.
That's the Brazilian Mark Coleman. That's what that is.
Yeah, that's it. And I look at him and said, okay. And then I knock him out if you want to. And I knock him out. Marco, who was stepping in the ring, and he wasn't happy. He said, you took
wasn't good enough.
3 rounds to do that? Come on, you should do this in the first round. I said, I'm sorry. I did my
Meanwhile, the guy's a freaking world champion. He's a future world champion.
Yeah, but he wanted it in 2 rounds. Come on.
Yeah, wasn't good
3.
enough. So Miguel, who was the main event that night?
On the Arlovski fight?
Yeah.
UFC 36.
I was gonna say first for the first Couture fight was a real memorable night. That was when Carlos Newton beat Pat Miletich with the bulldog choke.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
And also BJ Penn's debut, which is one of those things that even before the fight people were looking at there. So if you've forgotten, it was a very memorable UFC. Now the main event was Josh Barnett swooping in, somebody that Pedro beat, gets to dance with Randy first, it looks like, and gets a win over Randy. So
for the title.
So
think about this. They're putting Pedro and the undercard against a future world champion, Andrei Arlovski, a guy from Belarus that was collecting money for the mafia over there prior to the UFC. They put him in with Pedro, and Pedro wins. Marco's not happy with his performance because he didn't knock him out sooner. And you got Josh Barnett, a guy that Pedro knocked out, come in and take his title. Like that. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
And Barnett's not going to give you a rematch. Obviously, we know that. But, backstage, they're not looking to give you a rematch either.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. So, at the end, we have a good history. I beat 6.
Yeah.
Well,
seven with the Couture. I beat 7 UFC champion.
Yeah. You also got Rico Rodriguez. But
7
which is next.
7 Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Yeah. Jeez. So Pedro, when we started this interview with me saying, and I even was yelling at you through Instagram, no, it's not Gray Maynard, it's you. You are the greatest athlete never to win a world title, not Gray Maynard. And it's just people know Gray because he's fought now, but you can't forget about your history. You can't do that. So one question before we get to Rico Rodriguez, which was, it's you put on a clinic there. Gan McGee, you lost in the first round, corner stoppage. It seemed that you and Marco were having issues.
Yeah, the problem is I knew the fight. I just had to kick his legs because I saw him fighting. And when the first round he punched, he broke the bridge of my nose
again.
But this one dislocated the bridge. The bridge was on the side, and then the referee said to me, "You can't keep fighting, but you take a risk to be blind because there are some nerves that the bridge protect." And I look at him. And then Marco looked at me, and Marco said, "You should keep fighting." And the doctor said, I said I fight, and the doctor said, "No, you can't fight, man. We have a bridge broken, so you can be blind." When he said this two times, and then I feel like confused. I said, "Fuck." And then the doctor stopped the fight. Wasn't the corner stop. Marco wanted me to go back.
Okay.
I love Marco. I'm liking him more.
Yeah,
I
with
love
Marco.
him too, man.
I'm with Marco.
You'll be all right.
And
Yeah.
you know, but
Got another eye.
the worst part was when I got in the hospital after fight. I was sitting in the bed, and who just arrived? Game McGee. He sit beside me and he looked at me and said, "I wouldn't go back for the next round." I said, "I know." So his leg was fucked up.
No.
Oh, that sucks.
He was fucked up. And then I said,
well, just so people at home can understand how devastating Pedro's leg kicks were, Randy Couture's gone on record stating that the kicks that he absorbed from Pedro Rizzo changed the formation of his calf. He says there's lines in his leg that never existed prior to the fight that have never gone away.
That's weird.
Since their encounter.
you know, I met Kevin Randleman. I love him. I met him once in the airport, and he was, "Hey, Pedro. I was with my wife. And then he said, "Hey," he looked at my wife and said, "Do you want to see what your husband did to me?" And he put his pants, and there was a big roll in his legs. And said, "This guy kicked my leg. He fucked me up." I said, "Come on, Kevin. You broke my nose."
Yeah.
And then he said, "Okay." But he said, it was fantastic, man. I loved him, really loved him. That guy, unbelievable.
Now let me ask you a question here, because after the Couture, the bad decision with Couture, we had Eve Edwards on, and he had a similar situation in the lightweight division where, he beat Josh Thompson, and then the UFC canceled the lightweight division, and he was never champion. Now he said he went to therapy over this problem. Was it hard? Was it hard for you to get back in the ring?
Pedro went to therapy.
Did you talk to us?
Yeah.
Tell me about this, because Eve Edwards talked about it, saying that he actually said he was never the same after that. It's got to be that level of terrible.
Yeah, let me tell you this. The problem is, before Randy, I was always thinking like, hey, doesn't matter what's going to happen in the cage. At the end, I'll be the winner because I always win. I had this confidence with me. This is the way I used to step in the octagon. If I touch them, if I hit them, I'm going to knock him out. If I kick him, I'm going to hurt him. So I always had this confidence with me. And that night, I said I was thinking, hey, I did everything that I could. And I won that fight. But the referee screwed me up. And then I said, so I had a mistake because I didn't finish the fight. Maybe I couldn't finish the fight, so it was my mistake. But the same way, I think it's not just about win the fight. I have to win. I need a good referee to judge the fight. So I don't know. Then after that fight, I started fighting. I was worried about to lose the fight. That feeling that I'm gonna win, just go away. I was thinking, I can't lose. When we start to fight,
So you're playing defense instead of offense. Yeah.
That's it.
You fight not to win, but not to lose.
Yeah, because I was thinking like for the second fight with Randy, Dana White sent me like 1 month before to Vegas because the weather in Vegas is dry. It's a big shit to fight there. I hate to fight in Vegas. It's very hard for who is a fighter knows. Chris knows that. When we get there, our first training in Vegas is horrible.
Yeah,
we are tired after 3 minutes.
Yeah,
because of the dry air. It's horrible to fight there. And Dana sent me to Vegas like 1 month before. I took like 4 guys with me to train every day to be very well with the temperature there. And this should be good for me to be very well trained to fight with Couture for the second time. But I started thinking the wrong way. I started thinking like, hey, this guy is doing everything for me to become a UFC champion, so I can't lose. I can't disappoint this guy.
Yeah.
This guy did everything for me. So then I started thinking like, hey, I can't lose because I can't disappoint this guy. When I should think I'm gonna win because I'm better than Couture, I already beating him. I should think like that. I started thinking like, hey, I can't lose, I can't lose. When I start thinking about lose, we just talk about that. You don't fight offense. We just defense. So after that fight, I changed my mind, and then I started looking for some help with doctors, and then started teach me how we should work with our mind, because fighting high level, sometimes you get tired with all this pressure. You know, every time, you know, guys, you know, every time I step in the ring, it was good for me. Everybody expected a knockout from me. You know, it was good because I fought with the best of my time. You know, I'm really, really very proud of my career. I fought with everybody. I never choose one opponent in my life. You're gonna fight with the craziest guy I fight. We're gonna fight with the monster I fight. I don't care about. I never. This is the way I face the fights. If you want to beat the champion, you have to beat everybody. Doesn't matter where you are. So after that fight, you know, I wasn't. My mind wasn't well anymore. Then I arranged a guy to help me out on this, and then he said, "Yeah, you're gonna start thinking about what you have to do. You have to fight for yourself, not for the others. When you start fight for the others, you're fucked up. You have to fight for yourself. Remember your first fight. When you step in the ring the first time, man, the first time I fought MMA, I was in Holland. I earned $200, man. It never was because of the money. I never think about money in my life. You know, what I really wanted in my life when I start fighting, I wanted to be first, like Marco Ruas. He was my biggest hero. I want to be like him. I wanted to be respected for everybody, and I got that. Everywhere in the world I go with fighters to Russian, United States, everywhere. Everybody knows me like a good fighter. So so I wanted to be a black belt. I want to be a black belt with a gym, with some history to talk with my students. That's all I wanted. And then the money came for the game. Then Zulfa bought UFC. So now we are now. And then this therapist, he said to me, Pedro, you have to fight because you love this. When we started, nobody earned money on that.
No.
You never earned money in the fight. Now we're going to start to make money. So you can't fight for the others. You have to fight for yourself.
Okay.
So then
you know, it's funny how you talk to people and everybody will tell you stuff like you have to, you know, this is how you have to fight. And this is why, but they don't understand. It's not as easy as it sounds. Oh, just go in there and fight to win. That sounds perfect. And I hear you saying that and I understand it, but that has to be internal and in your head. You have to, it's hard just to change the way you think. You can't just think, I'm just going to go out there and fight, because there's all kinds of outside pressures and you're thinking about the whole time you're training. Like me, I always felt guilty. I had people who were spending time with me, training me. I felt like I had to win for them. You know, like you're saying, I feel guilty if I do bad because like they spent lots of time, energy, effort wasted on me. I felt bad for my family because I missed a lot of time for them. It isn't that easy just to say, I'm going to go out there and just fight. You understand it, but nobody can understand it unless you're the one out there. It's different.
Yeah, it's true.
So Pedro, I take lots of notes through, and I try to come up with weird conspiracies so we can get like a strange soundbite out of people or make them mad at somebody. I think I found the person that did you wrong the most. I've narrowed it down. So Bruce Buffer, before he screws up Randy Couture, it's Bruce Buffer. That's my answer, and I'm going to tell you why. He's before UFC 34. he screws up Randy Couture's record ugly. Like, he might as well have just pretended like different numbers because it was terrible. That fight, you got screwed. And then before UFC 39, Gan McGee, he's like, his microphone issues are like bonkers. And he announces Gan McGee, like, because he's so like confused because of what's taking place with his microphone, as 10-1-0. Like he's got no draws, everybody. I don't know what took place there. It could have been some sort of black magic. I'm blaming Bruce Buffer. I'm not saying kick his ass. We should probably talk to him.
There's an issue. It's a theory.
So Pedro Rizzo, just say, hey, Pedro Rizzo, we're going to close out with this. Pedro, we're going to talk about Rico Rodriguez, another world champion that you got to win over. I think, the frustration that you're talking about in regards to not finishing and fighting for other people, I think you saw it in that fight because Rico was looking for a way out. Those leg kicks murdered him.
Yeah. I know that. Rico had one chance. Take me to the ground. If he couldn't take to the ground, has no chance. I kick his leg, I punch him, I pressure him. Every time I get close of him, he's shooting me. I sprawl. I wanted to hit him, but I couldn't because I got close to hit. He shoot me. I sprawl. He lay down the guard. I said, "Come on, man, stand up. Let's fight, man." So it was a horrible fight because he didn't want to fight. He was trying to survive all 50 minutes. So when we finished the fight, I was really upset with myself. I said, come on, man. I should knock this guy out. And he's there 15 minutes with me. Marco Ruas was upset too. He said, hey.
You're never going to make Marco happy. You're never going to make it's just not possible.
No, I did many times. Josh Barnett, he was the first one to jump in the cage, was Marco Ruas. With Josh. He was the first one to get in there. But yeah, I beat Rico. Rico was one that was a former UFC champion, was good for me. And that's it. Then it's over. I left it for UFC, and that's it.
It's another one of those near misses for Pedro, too, because, Rico beat Randy for the belt.
Yes.
And so, it would have been a perfect thing to beat Rico and then you're champion. But they slipped Tim Sylvia first. Yeah. And, Tim got the job done. So you got Rico after the belt. Another time that it was very close. It was very close.
Yeah. And another champion that you never fought was Rick Rufus in kickboxing. You were scheduled to fight him and it got canceled.
With Ricky, I don't remember. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think we had this. It was
like in the 90s.
Yeah, I was in Holland. So everybody wants somebody to fight with me. I was training. That time I was in shape in kickboxing. I wanted to be in the UFC, in the K1. So I was ready to fight. I was beating everybody there. So I was in good shape that time.
That's excellent. Man, Pedro, thank you so much for your time, brother.
I really want to thank you for doing this, man. I love it. Like I said, when I first started fighting, you were the man, and it was just fun to hear your story.
Thank you.
Thank you. On December 18th, I'll be there. I'll be there in Vegas with Raoni Barcelos. So if somebody be in Vegas, we're gonna meet personally.
Go get some pictures of a definite Brazilian fighting legend.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Well, Mike, another one's in the books. UFC heavyweight Pedro Rizzo. I was there for a lot of his UFC fights. I think I was there for all of them, up until the ones that we spoke about. But I didn't remember how close he came in that Couture fight. And it's interesting to get his perspective on it. Obviously, there'll be a few takes on it and stuff like that. But I think you're right. I think he's a guy without a lot of defenders in the all-time lists and like that. Maybe he does.
We certainly made a good case. Would you not agree?
I mean, he makes it. His resume is really
impressive.
High end. It's a high-end resume, especially for the time. And you know, there are guys. I wonder if he doesn't fit into like a better conversation with like guys like Chanchin and Gilbert.
He's done more than those
Ivo.
guys. Miguel, I meticulously went through the records, and Pedro Rizzo's name is never mentioned in that argument. They'll say Donald Cowboy Cerrone. What it is people have short-term memory, and they're not recalling the past.
The guys like Igor Vovchanchyn never fought in the UFC, but man, for like an all-time record, he won like 8
tournaments.
8-man tournaments.
Yeah.
And he's from that era. And when he fought in Pride, he maintained it at a high level. He took some losses, but you know, Eve Edwards is another guy that maybe, you know, he can't, we were, you know, talked to Pedro about that, how, you know, he's in the same boat as Eve. Like those guys.
He needed therapy. Yeah.
Those two guys were like a heartbeat away from the UFC title, like legitimately thinking in your head that it's mine and then not having it. You know, Pedro a little colder than Eve. Eve sort of knew they weren't going to have a title shot before, but man.
Well, here, let's make another case. It's a yes or no question. Do you think Pedro Rizzo is UFC Hall of Fame worthy?
Yeah.
Of course. First ballot. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, secondly, what was the over-under on the word heifery?
That was great. I loved hearing the again. It came up a couple of times and it was really funny. And
you know, I might work that in because we always kind of make fun of the people. Okay, guys, there is a treasure trove of Americans that have never set foot in the country of Brazil that have Brazilian flags tattooed on them. I just like poking, you know, that beehive every once in a while. And, you know, I might have to throw heifery in whenever we're talking to a Brazilian.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. You know, I'm always down to talk about Ruas.
Yeah,
Marco Ruas. I mean, I don't know where your mind went, but Marco. I'm talking about Marco. I'm not talking about any of the Ruas.
So, ladies and gentlemen, our subscriber rate interactions is gone through the roof, and I'm telling you this right now. We're coming into the top 50. Like we're kind of a new podcast. We're coming into that top 50. The only way we get there is with your help. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. People have left a few nasty reviews on iTunes that were accompanied with 5-star reviews. So we're okay with that. Please write whatever it is you want there. Just give us 5 stars. Other people are putting time numbers in the comments on YouTube in order to kind of help generate with the help with the algorithms. Thank you. Crowbar, you're the man. You helped us out big time. On almost every interview, I feel almost like I'm harassing you when we talk on the phone almost daily. But man, appreciate everybody's help. Like, share, subscribe, and hey, we'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah, we are starting to get a little lights out army out there. So thank you very much to all the people that are taking an interest, and we'll see you there. Going to be tough to top Mark Coleman. Well, Pedro Rizzo, you know, I don't think it's much of a drop off. So
no,
enjoy
not at all.
That was a lot of fun, and we'll see what we have next coming up.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.